Good afternoon, everyone. Maybe go ahead and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. You please stand and place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Roll call, please.
Director Quady?
Here.
Director McMillan?
Here.
Director Pacala?
Yes.
Director Robert?
Here.
Director Avila?
Here, we have a quorum. Thank you. Item 2 is public comments. This portion of the agenda may be utilized by any member of the public to address the board of directors on any matter within the jurisdiction of the board that does not appear on the agenda and on matters that are on the agenda but are not designated as action items. Depending on the subject matter, the board of directors may be unable to respond at this time or until a specific topic is placed on the agenda at a future Calleguas board meeting. In accordance with Ralph M. Brown Act, please limit remarks to 3 minutes. Would we have any members of the public online?
We
who would
do.
like to speak? Please raise your hand. I see no raised hands. Would any members of the public here in our boardroom like to say anything?
Things that are not on the agenda.
Things that are not on the agenda? All right. Thank you, everyone. Item 3, do we have items to be added to the agenda?
No.
No items to be added. Agenda. Has everyone had a chance to review the agenda? I am recommending one change, and that is to move forward the action item. Action item 7.1, discussion regarding renaming the Wellfield emergency generators as the Steve Boyce emergency generators. And Christine, would you like to kick that off?
Sure. All right, well, thank you, President Avila, for making that change in the agenda. I'm going to start off with a presentation, providing a little bit of an overview of the matter at hand. And then we have a number of representatives from the family who've joined us tonight, which I really appreciate it. So we'll give them an opportunity to speak and then the board obviously can ask questions or make comments. So the item before you tonight is a discussion regarding renaming the Wellfield emergency generators as the Steve Boyce emergency generators. I'm going to start with a little bit of an overview of Director Boyce's biography. He was very active in the water community. He was on our board from 2014 to 22. He was board president for part of that time. Also served on the Association of California Water Agencies Region 8 board, including 3 years as chair. And he also spent 8 years as Calleguas' representative to the Metropolitan Water District Board. Before he joined us here on the board at Calleguas, he got his degree in industrial engineering from Cal Poly SLO. He actually overlapped with Director Quady in their time at SLO and led Boyce Construction before he retired in 2003. During that time, he was involved in a number of construction-related organizations, including Ventura County Contractors Association, the Associated General Contractors of California, and the Construction Education Foundation. Beyond that, he was actually on the Crestview board, one of our purveyors before he joined us here at Calleguas. He was appointed to the Los Angeles Regional Water Quality Control Board by Governor Schwarzenegger. And he had a house up in Lake Nacimiento that he loved. And he was on the Regional Water Management Advisory Committee there. Just to speak a little bit of my own experience with Steve as Director Boyce, I was manager of engineering for pretty much the whole time he was on our board. And of course, since he came from a construction background, he took a special interest in the work we did in engineering. Always loved construction, getting out to the sites, especially. He always wanted to make sure that we were tough but fair with our contractors. That was very important to him. And he really helped make some, I think, important policy changes here at Calleguas, including helping me develop and working with the board to adopt the CIP capital project prioritization approach that we use today. He helped reform our change order approval process that granted project managers and the manager of engineering more discretion, which streamlined things and made our jobs easier. He really he loved construction, he loved infrastructure, he loved building and being a part of that world. One of the reasons that I put forward the recommendation that this facility be named after him is when we built it, he was on the board. We had an engineering and construction committee meeting at the well field, and it had poured rain. And when that happens, our well field is just slop mud, the kind that sucks the boots off your feet. And we were in at least knee-deep mud to tour this facility while it was under construction. And Steve couldn't have been happier. I think he preferred that we were out there in the mud and the rain than on a bright, sunshiny day. One of my other favorite things he did when he was on our board is the engineering department has twice monthly engineering staff meetings. And he wanted to be featured in one of those meetings. So the project managers and the inspectors and the manager of engineering. And we entitled his presentation Tales from the Dark Side. And he came and talked about his experience as a contractor. It was a lot of fun. So shifting to the facility that we're proposing to rename after in Director Blois's memory, these are the wellfield emergency generators. By way of background, we have two sources for imported water that we rely on during outages. We're actually in a metropolitan outage right now. We have Lake Bard and the water filtration plant here on the premises, and we have the Las Posas Aquifer Storage and Recovery well fields, which are out on Grimes Canyon Road in Moore Park. And when the well field was originally built, they built 18 wells and all the piping and the disinfection system, but they didn't build backup power. There were 2 Edison services to the facility, but no actual backup power. So the generators enable those well fields to operate when utility power is not available. And in fact, we're absolutely critical. Just a year ago in January, when we were under public safety power shutoffs by Edison, we had a metropolitan outage and we ran the well field without utility power. Ran pretty much the whole system without utility power. But that facility was absolutely critical to our success. It's a masonry block building. It's got 5 2-megawatt diesel backup generators. We do believe it's the largest diesel backup generation facility in Ventura County. All the electrical equipment to connect with those 2 different Edison utility services I mentioned. We have 4 20,000-gallon diesel tanks adjacent to the building. You can see in the foreground in that photo. And then we had to make extensive electrical improvements throughout the well fields to make this all work. So I mentioned this a little bit earlier that we had that scheduled outage of imported water from Met, and we had to run the well field. We didn't have utility power. And because of this facility, there were no interruptions in water service, and no one outside of our staff even knew that we didn't have power or water for that matter. So that's a picture of the generators in the interior of the building. We're going to do a couple of construction photos now because Steve would have liked it. We started with some clearing and grading. We had just the well field's a pretty large property. It was actually a foreclosed nursery. So there were trees all over the place. Mostly they burst out of the pots and started growing in the ground. You can see they're laying out the concrete pads for the 5 2-megawatt generators. And lots and lots and lots of electrical conduit. And here they're getting the rebar, start doing the building. Lots and lots and lots of rebar. And you can see the building starting to take shape a little bit there. They had the walls partway up when they flew the actual generators in using a crane. That was a fun day. And you can see this is what became the electrical room. And the buildings start to take shape. The generators have been at this point placed on the concrete pads. They're enclosed in those plywood and tarp structures to protect them from any damage during construction. There goes some of the electrical equipment inside the electrical equipment. These are the 20,000-gallon diesel tanks outside in their secondary containment area. This is ventilation on the side of the building. And here's the ventilation system. You see the generators there are still tarped. Pulling lots and lots and lots of electrical cable. And more electrical cable. And here they're filling up the diesel tanks for the first time. And here's a SCADA screen that shows how this looks in our system when we need to run them. This screenshot was obviously taken when they were not running. And there's a final aerial shot of the building. And the generators on the inside. So really, the reason that staff believes this is the right facility to name after Director Blois is that he was here pretty much on our board from its conception through its implementation and startup. It's a big, bold facility and it's indispensable infrastructure. And those are all things that Steve really believed in. So we were lucky to have him on our board. He left an impression on the staff here and people who were on the board with him. And we really feel this is a fitting remembrance of his service on our board. I know there was hopefully someone from the family.
Yeah, thank you, Christina.
Well, thank you, Christine. I'm Jim Blois, brother number 4. Brother Doug is brother number 3. You guys all know that have to look up to. And Craig, kind of pretty much running Blois Construction right now is here too. But just off the cuff, you guys all know, staff and the board, that Steve is very knowledgeable about all things California water policies, politics. But beyond that, he was very passionate to the point that everybody here is pretty much 95% water experts, whether we wanted to or not, because I can't think of a dinner that or a gathering where he did not mention what's going on at Met or what's going on at Calleguas. And so whether we like it or not, we know a lot about it. And we know that you guys have a really tough job and he enjoyed it. He loved it. Christine reached out to us on, geez, would Steve, would you consider, having a facility named after him? And I took it back to the family and it was like a no-brainer. He would have loved it. Could have been anything. I mean, dam would have been better, but that's a little bit beyond your jurisdiction. It doesn't matter where it is.
He loved that golden
Fire
hydrant up front. He loved it.
Yes, yeah, we know about that. I have a little red one at my house and he always said, well, the one at Calleguas is far better. So, that's something we had to do. So I don't know if there's anything else anybody wanted to share, but we really appreciate you guys going to this effort. We know that he really loved interacting with all of you guys, and we'll all miss him, but he left quite a legacy with everybody, and we really appreciate the honor. So thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to say anything or comments from the board? Questions from the board?
Well, I just have to say that I kind of overlap with Steve both at Las Virgenes and Cal Poly as well as here. So I have a lot of different memories of how we got to exchange different things, stories from Las Virgenes where I just happened to be in the office and our construction inspector was there and he comes in from a pipe job. And I assumed that was his job and he and basically the guy came into our manager of engineering and said, that pipe you said was here? It's over here. So anyway, the memories of some of the contract jobs that he did at Las Virgenes, we could talk about a bit. He's out in the field though, and I'm pretty much office bound. But and then the Cal Poly stuff too. We could talk a little bit about that, and of course he was my upperclassman here. So as I told Brenda coming in, I had to be nice to him. But he told me I certainly did. So he wasn't without a lot to say. Any opportunity to be able to speak, he was in. And so I appreciate him being on the board and being a cohort with him, so. Yeah, I actually thought that, and this all surprised me, but Brenda and Steve told us about the Christmas Cambria lights and so we were kind of hoping we'd see them both up there sometime. And just anytime I was hoping to run into both of you, but so anyway, we'll miss him. He's got a good legacy.
Yeah, Steve was an incredible board member and a friend, really. He was one of the first board members I got to chat with here when I joined the board and going back to my comment about the fire hydrant. Welcome to Calleguas, where we like to gold plate everything. Have you seen our gold fire hydrant? One of my favorite stories, and he was a lot of fun. He was almost seemed like a mentor to me. I'd follow him around at Aqua. He'd introduce me to everyone, and I've told staff here before, when we'd go to Aqua, he'd say, you look for the table where nobody, that's the table we're sitting at. We're gonna go talk to people we don't know. All right, so that's what we're doing. So I got to meet a lot of people with his help, and I got to learn a lot from him. He was incredible. He was. So we're glad to have had him here for a while, and thank you. Would anyone else from the board like to say anything else?
I'll give my perspective from Steve, which was a relatively short one compared to my other board members here. I joined the board right as Steve was exiting, and but viewing the meetings up to that point, I think I'd speak for everyone when I say his presence was immediate and palpable. And he was incredibly knowledgeable, incredibly nice, and just filled the room with presence. And I think that presence has always lingered here. And now it can linger more permanently over at the well field. So it's one of those people that you wish you had more contact time with. But clearly he was a huge influence to his family, the community in Southern California, and probably further north as well. So, okay, yeah.
Okay. Do we have yes, sir?
I'd just like to add one brief comment. If it wasn't for Steve, my son Craig would not be with Boyce Construction today. He got his biochem undergraduate degree. He was working for his PhD down at UCLA. But they don't earn much. College grad students don't make much money. And Steve goes, I think he was at my youngest son's high school graduation down in Temecula. He goes, why don't you go to work for Boyce? So he took a 6-month sabbatical from the UCLA lab he was at, but he never came back.
Yeah, that was a great one. Craig came to me and said, yeah, Uncle Jim, I want to quit the PhD program and come dig ditches. I said, okay, go talk to your parents.
Fun. And with that, I'm looking for a motion. Oh, Director Pacala.
Well, my memories about Steve was go back to 90s and year 2000. I worked for County Waterworks. We did a lot of pipeline and wells, that kind of construction. He was always one of those, he's a straight shooter. He always tells you what he means, and we enjoyed working with him. I can tell you, whenever he had our construction contracts, I don't think we had too many change orders. And all the change orders really were. So we had a great time working with him. When he was on the board, of course, unfortunately, I retired and left town, and I didn't get an opportunity to work with him as a board member. But he was a great person. I had great memories about working with him. Congratulations.
Anybody else like to say anything before we move on with the motion? Not, I'm looking for a motion.
I make a motion. Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Director Quady?
Right.
Director McMillan?
Yes.
Director Pacala?
Yes.
Director Robert?
Yes.
Director Avila?
Aye. The motion carries.
We
Thank
will, can I say something real quick?
Yeah, sure.
We will be planning an event at the facility, and we'll of course be in touch with the family when we get that scheduled, probably later this spring when the weather might be a little bit more predictable. Although Steve would love it if we were.
We really appreciate that. Thank you.
Would the family like to do a picture over here with the board and the Calleguas thing?
Sure. You got time.
Do it.
No, Steve never graduated from high school. If you had known that. Why you come?
Talk to that sounds right.
Thank you. Thank you. Please come.
Squeeze in. We got, what's the best way to bring it in? Christine?
Yeah, I think turn on the angle a little bit.
Squeeze in, everyone. Makes sense.
Anne had magical power, she's here. 1, 2, 3. All right, 1, 2, 3. Great, thank you guys.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you. Science. Jim.
Thank you.
Take care, well, I'll be in touch. You okay there?
Mhm. Next, we have presentations. Presentation of Matt Gomes' promotion to Assistant Manager of Operations and Maintenance.
Yes, our manager of operations and maintenance, Omar Castro, will be handling this item.
Good afternoon, Board. It's my pleasure to introduce Matt Gomez as our new Assistant Manager of Operations and Maintenance. Matt was selected through a highly competitive recruitment process involving both internal and external candidates. The initial interviews were conducted by an external panel, followed by a final round of an internal panel. Through each stage, Matt consistently demonstrated the skills, drive, and professionalism that make him an outstanding fit for this position. And as you saw, Matt was quick to fold up chairs and knock them out so everybody can stand up and sit down. But come on up, Matt.
Thank you, Omar. Thank you for the introduction and thank you all. Although I'm not a new face, been around for 16 years, but this is a new position and a new role and I'm excited to get started and contribute different to the team in different role. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You've been a steady and constant, presence here in our board. You always have great things to say and we appreciate hearing updates from you and
Thank you very much.
forward more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, next up is item B, recognition of Tricia Ferguson, Manager of Human Resources and Risk Management for completion of a master's degree in public policy and administration from California Lutheran University.
Yes, I will be handling this item. Tricia joined us in 2008. She had just had her first son and she was looking for a part-time job. And so she joined us in the engineering department as a part-time admin. At the time I was a project manager, I actually sat on her interview panel. And I remember when we interviewed her and we're talking about her after, I don't think Tricia I've ever told you this. I said, oh, she could totally do my job. We should definitely hire her. And so we did, which was very smart of us, I might add. Since that time, she worked in engineering, worked in several roles in operations and maintenance before becoming the assistant manager of human resources and risk management. And then almost exactly a year ago, our manager of human resources and risk management. She also had 2 more kids. So she has 3 sons and has always been a dedicated, hardworking employee, manages to run with whatever we throw at her. She's, as I mentioned, now worked in 3 different departments and more different roles than that, and really brings order and thoughtfulness to everywhere that she works. And in addition to doing her full-time job and raising 3 sons, she found time to participate in the Aqua JPIA leadership program as well as complete her master's in public policy and administration from California Lutheran. So we're really lucky to have Tricia here at Calleguas, and I just want to recognize this significant accomplishment.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I just wanted to quickly say thank you to the board and to the leadership team, especially Christine, who's mentored me from the beginning, for the opportunity to participate in a program like that. Without the district's contribution to that, it would not have been something that would have been possible for me. But I am really grateful for that. It's definitely increased my knowledge of public policy, implementation, and leadership that will help me contribute to the district at a higher level as well. So thank you for your confidence and investment in me. Thank you for your commitment to professional development and your continued leadership. So grateful for the opportunity.
We appreciate you. Would the board like to sing?
No, she does a great job.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats.
Thank you for your engagement.
Okay. Up next, we have item 6, consent calendar. Has the board had a time to review the consent calendar, and would any items like to be pulled?
I just have questions and comments on item B, C, and E.
See any? All right, let's start with item B.
I'll go last if anybody has. This is it.
B is after approving
Payment.
minutes, so.
Okay. Yes, on page 2 of the report, there's a payment of $21,839 for PC replacements for turnouts. My question is simple. How many turnouts there? And are we replacing PCs for all the turnouts?
So yes, we are replacing PCs for all turnouts. This does not represent all of them. We have 98 turnouts in our network in the distribution system between turnouts and discharge stations both. They all have a local PC, the site. In the event that we have a Verizon communication outage, stores the flow data and totalization data locally before it regains communication, and then goes ahead and sends that back to our office here for display on the Purveyor website. So they're an important part for those to have. And they have been moved into a 5-year replacement program, which is what I'm doing with all of our computer products. So all of our workstations are treated the same way, and so are these PCs. A little more expensive. But again, this is only representing a fifth, right? Because we're replacing them we're replacing them every 5 years. So this is a half order for the year because they only send us a half at a time. But they're a little more expensive, but that's because they're industrial ruggedized versions to be able to handle the 115, 125 degree internal cabinet temperatures in the field.
Okay. Well, you answered my other questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I have about 6 or 7 questions.
Okay, go ahead. Floor is yours.
On page 4, there's a payment of 120,000 some change. This is to Blois Construction for adjusting grades to certain SMP appurtenances within Wainemi Road. My question is again simple. How many manholes or appurtenances were adjusted to grade?
Yes, good question, Director Bacala. There was approximately 53 different manholes, valve covers, and I believe it was cathodic test station vaults that were adjusted to grade. 53.
Is it because the city had to repave the road?
That's correct. The county was repaving the road, and we went in after they did the repaving. We had to adjust them to the grade. The good news is we're working with the county to put an agreement in place where their contractor who does the road improvements can do that for us and saving us some costs in mobilization by our own contractor. So that agreement is being worked on right now.
Okay, thank you. On the same page, there's also another payment of 28,367 for flow meter relocation of the Las Virgenes Calleguas interconnection project. What was the reason for relocating the flow meter?
Yeah, so that was within the manhole that houses the flow meter that Triumphal Water and Sanitation District will own once we transfer that facility to them. That work was part of the LV interconnection project. When the meter was installed, it was installed directly above an outlet on the bottom of the pipe. The manufacturer did not want the meter to be above an outlet for the accuracy purposes. So we had to essentially turn it, I think it was like 15, 20 degrees. So the meter, once inserted into the line, was bottoming out with the wall, the inside wall of the pipe, and not above the outlet at the bottom of the pipe. So we had to do that work after Hewitt was done because of some issues we've had with Hewitt, some work there. So we did that work afterwards on our own.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On page 8, there's a payment of 9,500 for helipad. Is this helipad here at the Lake Mart facility? Where is it?
This is something that is being looked at. The WF there refers to the well field. So
Oh,
we've been working with the Ventura County Fire Department to get a dip tank out near the well field because there's limited surface water bodies to dip out there to fight wildfires. And Trisha, I don't know if you can comment more on exactly what this announcement does.
Yeah, sure. So we were relocating the Hellas, they call it a Hellas spot. The dip tank, we're relocating that to Wellfield 1. So we needed to do a safety analysis for the helicopters flying in. It's more of an aviation analysis to make sure that it's safe and that we have all the necessary equipment for them to land dip safely. So that we have the lighting, wind socks, all of those things. No electric.
so how often do we have to do this? Only one time? Okay, all right, thank you. On page 11, shows 2 payments for Southern California Edison totaling $88,000 in round numbers at the ASR Wellfield. This is the ASR Wellfield Self-Generation Incentive Program. My question is this a grant application fee? I'm thinking it is grant application fee. If so, does the grant cover for it?
So this is for the solar project that we're looking to implement at the well field. And as part of the applying for SCHIP funds, we did have to make a deposit. We will have, or we're pursuing 2 solar systems, 2 batteries and 2 solar systems. So each SCHIP application had a $44,000 or so deposit. And we're waiting for the confirmation from SCE that we've been allocated the funds for that project, and we can pursue implementing essentially a performance specification that we can put out to bid. And Terra Verde is assisting us on that effort, and we're just waiting on SCE at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
On page 12, there are 2 payments for 126,000 some change. And another one is 3,540 for Los Angeles Regional Water Quality Control Board permit for the SMP. And also for the Oxnard Santa Rosa feeder. Maybe the question is for our general manager. She's expert in that. My question is, are these fees based on regional board's fee schedule, or are they based on the type of discharge we have the permit for?
I'm actually going to defer to our manager of O&M, Omar, on this because I got the original outfall permit, but I have very limited involvement moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah, so we will still have inspection and regional permits for the outfall. Annually, we will see those inspections. You'll see those come through. I would have to look more into the Santa Rosa side, but that's what we have on the SMP side.
Yeah. When I looked at the dollar amount, $100,000, is it the standard schedule or is it based on the permit requirement? That was but you can get back to me.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, this is finance question. On page 20, there are 2 payments of 50,796 and 25,204 for classic PERS retirement contribution and also for PEPRA contributions. My question is, the PEPRA contribution is only half of the classic contributions. Is that because the changes that happened in the retirement benefits for the public employees in 2013, or is it because we have more retirees in the classic?
We still have more employees in the classic, but yes, it's all, we have two separate plans because of the changes that were made in 2013. So there are classics, which is the one, and then the PEPRA, which is the other class. And the PEPRA gets split more evenly between the employee and the employer, and the percentages are a little bit less because the benefits are less.
Yes, I mean, public employees, the pensions have gone down quite a bit because of the PEPRA requirements.
Yes.
Age versus percentage, that
Pretty close to 50.
pleasantly surprised, half the cost when I look at the contributions.
Yeah.
Under PEPRA. Thank you. This is also for finance. Sorry, Dan. Another question for you. Under item 6C, tax exempt obligation,
Yes.
district anticipates to issue $500 million bond in next 18 months.
50 million? 50.
Oh, it's 50? Okay. 50 million. My question is, when will the process begin and how long will the process take for us to get that money? Bonds issued, I should say.
There is no set timeline right at the moment, so we're kind of doing this resolution. Isn't as much for the intent to issue the bonds. I mean, there is an intent. We have that $20 million loan that's out there. This is to help us add additional projects on that loan so we can start drawing down that $20 million before we issue the bonds. By doing this resolution, we're identifying the bonds that or the projects that we're saying are going to be issued with the bonds, which then makes them eligible for us to draw down on the loan at this time.
Yeah.
But the timeline has not been established. When we say there's an intent, it could be in this year, it could be a year after that, it could be 2 years from now.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yeah, we've got some time to figure this out and what we want to do, depending on how fast we spend down the loan first.
Would you also be looking for opportunistic time to go out for the bond?
And it's becoming a little more opportunistic as interest rates are declining at the moment. So it could be this year. We could start this process. It's a longer process when it's a new issue. So it's probably going to have to start 6 months or so before we decide we're going to do the bonds.
Very good, thank you. That's all, Mr. Chair, Mr. President, sorry.
Okay. That was item C.
Yes.
All right. And item, oh no, we cover B, C, up next, D, the admin code changes. I do have one thing. If I wanted to make a change to a committee, would it be under item D? During the.
If you wanted to add a committee,
Correct.
I know the committees aren't in the admin,
They're
committee, I
not.
don't think so, or no, if you wanted to add a committee or change committee members, that would probably be something we could discuss under future agenda items. It would need to be agendized, but it wouldn't be part of that. It would not require an admin code.
Okay. All right, sounds good. I'll skip my comments till later then. Item E, update, adopts updated district legislative priority policy.
Yes, we did get some input from Director Pacala, a couple of minor suggestions. I think it was adding purveyor to one item and changing the terminology from member agency to purveyor, which we had discussed with respect to ordinance 12 recently. So the printed versions in your at your spot reflect these minor edits that Director Pacala requested. Staff felt they were easy to implement and made sense.
Okay. Do you have any other questions or comments from the board? In regards to the consent calendar? If not, I would be looking for a motion.
I make a motion,
We have
adopt items in consent agenda.
second,
Right.
we have a first and a second roll call, please.
Director Quady,
Aye.
Director McMillan,
Yes.
Director Pacala,
Yes.
Director Robert,
Yes.
Director Vila.
Aye. The motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Up next, we have action items. 7.2, discussion regarding reimbursing Nyland Acres Mutual Water Company and Garden Acres Mutual Water Company for approved grant invoices in advance of receipt of payment from the California Department of Water Resource.
Yes, as the board knows, Calleguas is serving as the grantee and grant administrator, I should say, for Prop 1 Round 2 Integrated Regional Water Management Funding, as well as at the request of the Department of Water Resources for some drought funding that Nyland Acres had received. Garden Acres had both some drought funding and IRWIM funding. The state does not pay quickly on grants. They've been better of late on some of the other grants. We've waited 18 months, but they're still quite slow. And for small entities like Nyland Acres that represent disadvantaged communities, the amount of money that they owe their contractor for having constructed their project well exceeds their reserves. So what I am asking the board to approve today is to grant staff the discretion to reimburse just these two entities. The other entities are large cities and water districts like us who can handle a little bit of cash flow. After DWR approves the invoices, but before the check is issued, it usually takes a couple months to get the invoice approved. And then it's another several months before we actually get the check from DWR. But we always do get the check and it clears. So there's really no risk to Calleguas, and it makes an enormous difference to utilities like Nyland Acres and Garden Acres who can't sustain that kind of cash flow. Particularly now, Nyland Acres finished their project. They owe their contractor over $400,000. I'm pushing DWR as hard as I can to get the money out of them, but it's going to take what it's going to take. And so once the invoice is approved, both for this reimbursement and the remaining ones, I'd like the board's approval to issue check to Nyland Acres and Garden Acres once the invoices are approved and before the check is received from DWR. And I do expect that will be public comment, but that's the end of my spiel.
All right, with that, I will open it up to public comment.
Good afternoon, directors and employees of Calleguas. Thank you very much for considering this. It wasn't even my idea, but I kept, my name is Dina Antaveras. I'm the president of the board of directors of the Nyland Acres Mutual Water Company. And we do serve a very small disadvantaged community. We have about 184 connections, and we had some money when we started this project, but now we have $47,000 more or less in our savings and $41,000 in our checking, and we owe $21,000 to United Water Conservation District, but we also owe Travis Ag a little under $412,000, and I'm scratching my head trying to, how are we going to pay for this? And it's just been really, really difficult. We do have some misunderstandings about how much we should charge for rates. So we're in the middle of a rate study right now with RCAC. And so we're just trying to do the best we can with our water company. We replaced 1,080 linear feet of pipeline. It was, as when we found it and dug it out, well, we didn't dig it out, but when we opened it up, we found out it was a 5-inch steel irrigation pipe. It wasn't for potable water, but that was put in the 1940s. That's what people did. So now it's 8-inch PVC, and I'm really proud of the fact that we were able to do it with a skeleton crew. My husband was a engineering observer. He went and got his water operator license just to do this. And my bookkeeper, Rosa, and I have been doing the paperwork, and I'm actually an elder care expert. I know nothing about construction or engineering, but Heather O'Connell stepped up to the plate and has been guiding me, as has Christine. So I'm really grateful because it's just been really, really hard, but we're doing the best we can to serve this very small community, and you making this decision, it would be wonderful because I'm also trying to see if I can find money elsewhere, but it doesn't seem to work very well. And I don't know how to do all of this stuff, but thank you for your consideration. Thank you very much for your time, and hopefully positive determination. Just thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for you,
Yes.
comment question. I know it's very difficult for small mutual water companies like to what we have to do, replace the old pipelines. At one time, there was some discussion about consolidating the mutual water companies within Island and El Rio area. How is that going?
There are interpersonal relationship issues that would preclude water companies from coming together at this time. Once personnel changes, once people move or are no longer on the water board, that may be a consideration in the future. But right now, at this moment, it's really not feasible. I think personally, I think at some point in the future, when young people decide to step up to the plate and feelings are no longer part of the equation, I think it would be great. But right now, because of things that have happened, we can't do that. And it would, we're in that small area, island in between fields and the freeway. So there really isn't any other except for Garden Acres. But right now that would not happen. And the city is next to us, and the city, that would not happen either. The city has 3 properties that they need to give water to that are annexed to the city that we provide water to, and they have refused to do so. So we're kind of a little stuck, but we're doing the best that we can. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions, comments from the board?
This is one of those examples where the board has an opportunity to facilitate helping our local community and something that we pride ourselves in doing. And it's always been a fantastic effort. I've always been impressed by our ability to do these sorts of things. And this is really what it comes down to. So I think it's a great opportunity to continue to do.
I would like to follow up on Thibault's suggestion. That is exactly what I think Calleguas is doing here in terms of addressing funds certain as well as help facilitating something to happen. And so I think it's quite important what we want to see. It's our mission. Okay. Thank you.
I just have one question, probably for Dan. Do we have any risk of these funds getting hung up long-term or receiving these funds? Where are the funds coming from, you know, and
From a cash flow perspective, it's not going to really affect us. You'll see the amount of cash we have sitting in the bank right now is like over $7 million. So the 400,000 is not going to necessarily hurt us as a cash flow perspective. I mean, whether or not DWR is going to pay us or not, they always have. It just takes time.
okay.
So it's really just a timing issue more than anything else.
So little to no risk, is what you're telling me.
Well, yeah, I'd say no risk. I mean, it's the state. That's the risk.
All right.
How timely can they be? You know, we can put pressure on them and continue trying, but they don't listen to many people.
Thank you, Dan. With that, do we have anything else? For a motion?
I'll motion.
Second.
We have a first and a second.
Director Quady?
Aye.
Director McMillan?
Yes.
Director Pacala?
Yes.
Director Robert?
Yes.
Director Avila?
Aye. Okay, the motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's gonna make a big difference. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Okay, up next, we have reports. A1, December 2025 water use and sales, Norm 25 hydropower generation, and December 2025 investment summary reports. Dan Smith.
Good evening, Director. So we have the water use and sales for December going up here. So in December, we sold 4,826 acre feet of water, which was pretty close to what we had budgeted. We budgeted 4,920, so we're pretty close. And overall, it's about average what we do in December. So it was kind of right what we expected. But that does mean we didn't make up any ground for the lack of water sales that we've experienced in the past. So we continue to be about 3,000 acre feet short of what our projected how it should be at this time. Just kind of looking at the graph, you can see that for this month, we pretty much hit right on, so that's looking good. But there are those last 2 months that are causing us to have a little bit of a shortfall. And then for the last year, you can see that like last January, we got a lot of rain. I already got a lot of sales because there was no rain. We haven't had much rain this month. So hopefully we will make up a little bit this month, but you never know, the month's not over. And so it just kind of gives you a quick look over the last 12 months. Looking at the Met invoice, we had total water sales of $6.7 million. It did put some water into storage of $604,000. We did have a reconciliation amount of $151,000 this month. And we are taking a look at that. That's a little higher than normal that we expect. The O&M department, Omar and his group are taking a look at to find out exactly what's been happening with this. We do think it is happening up at the lake. And we think that the water is getting into the lake. It's just not being registered on the meters at this point. So it's one of the things that we're taking a look at. We add in the RTS and the CRC, and we did get a little bit of money back from the LRP monies, and we did get some money from Matt. So that was another good little money coming in to get us to the total of $7,232,000. Looking at the SMP discharge, we continue to exceed what we had expected. So we put in 79 acre feet of discharge. We had budgeted 64, bringing our year-to-date total at 472 acre feet compared to budgeted of 420. So we're about 52 acre feet above what we had budgeted. Hydropower sales continues to do well. We brought in $24,500. We had only budgeted 18 for this time of the year. So overall, and this is only through November, we're at 395,000. And we had budgeted 384. So we're well on pace still for our $600,000 power generation for the year. To give you a snapshot on all the revenues, you can see there's the $9,145,000 in water sales, bringing our year-to-date total to $74.2 million. It puts us at about 50.3% of the total budget when we're typically at 54.4%. So we are a little bit short from our water revenue side. Recycled waters continues to be exceeding that. We're almost at 100% already through 6 months of sales. So hopefully maybe that's twice as much. We'll make up an extra $100,000 there. The SMP fees continue to be higher than expected too. So we're at 60%. We're typically about 52%. And power generation is pretty close to where we thought we'd be. We're at 65.9. We're typically at 64%. So those are pretty even. So looking at the cash and investments, this is what I was talking about. At the end of this December, we had $7.9 million in the bank in cash. And then we had some money moving around as we put money into unrestricted as we got ready for the bond payments that we made January 1st. Overall, we had a gain for the month of $7.5 million. Of course, again, 2.2 million of that was the late payment that came in from one of our purveyors. It's now showing up in December. The other part of that is the property tax. We got property tax payments in December, which is $5+ million. So between those two things, that's almost our $7.9 million increase for the month. And that is all I have for this month on the water use and sales report, unless there are some questions.
Thank you, Dan. Great update. Do we have questions, comments?
Very thorough, no questions.
The usual. All right, up next we have a discussion regarding salinity management pipeline policy.
Yes, I'll this item as well. This is a follow-up continuation of a discussion we started at a previous board meeting. And I think it's going to take some time and some effort to kind of go through various issues associated with the salinity management pipeline. The discussion last time was pretty wide ranging and touched on a number of different issues. And I want to make sure we give this discussion the time and the space it needs to be thorough and complete. I know most of the board was not part of deciding the initial rate structures and other elements of the SMP. So my focus today, or our focus today, is I want to identify and agree on the questions that we want to answer, as well as the data we believe we need to answer those questions, because I know that the board, and particularly certain board members, really like data. No one in particular, though.
But they are, they say, right.
So I think one of the questions that we need to be asking ourselves is what the purpose of the salinity management pipeline is. Because based on the discussion we had at the previous board meeting, it seemed like the board had different perspectives on that. Now, all of those perspectives can be true. There isn't just one purpose, and some of you have had more involvement in the evolution of the SMP as it came to be, like Director Bacala in his previous career was involved in some of the early discussions of the SMP. So I think this is a really important question that may not have just one answer. And the two data needs that I was able to identify this were Ordinance 19, which governs the operation of the SMP and includes defining what kinds of discharges are allowed, as well as several of our strategic plan objectives are relevant to the SMP, in some cases quite directly. Firstly, I want to confirm that the board agrees this is a question that we should answer. It seems kind of foundational to me. And then if there's other data the board feels is necessary, I'm not suggesting we attempt to answer the question today, simply agree on what the question is and what the data needs. I see nodding.
I think it's important to, I support that. I think it's important to establish a general framework and the intent. I think it's a complex decision, and I want to make sure that we're open to the idea that we may not be perfectly equipped to come up with the best answer that represents the interests of the district and its ratepayers and purveyors. I'd like to be open to the idea that we consider bringing in outside expertise to discuss a situation that's beneficial for really where we lay foundationally in the interests that at the very least, our core foundational interest is to the individuals we supply water to. And so that's, I think from a high level perspective, there's a lot of questions, a lot of things to analyze. And at some point, we may find ourselves out of our depth in a way that may affect our business decision-making skills rather than our emotional decision-making skills. So that's just kind of the teaser I want to put out there, because that may be the direction that I fall down in absence of not necessarily just the data to analyze it, but my ability to analyze the data in a way that is meaningful for our decision-making progression. Sometimes you need outside counsel or expertise in that field to give you advice in what you can do, what is best for you from a business perspective, what's best for you from a legal perspective, you know, that kind of thing. Those are your ratepayers. And that's kind of where I go back to. And, you know, it's a little complex because it affects a sister agency that we've worked very well with. And when things become complex, there's sometimes solutions that work for everybody, and they're not always the easiest, straightforward decision. And so I think this is a very nuanced path to follow, and sometimes we may need a guide.
Do we have other comments from the board?
Well, as Christine mentioned, this is evolving. When we first started, it had a different scope of work. And at that time, really, Calleguas had a vision. When this project started, we didn't understand why we were spending so much money. What was the reason? Every time a public project is looked at, you say cost benefit analysis. There was no analysis at that time. They felt this is necessary because of the water quality issues, because of the salt. So that was the main driven force. To comply with the permit requirement, this was required. But it's turned out to be a great asset for us. It turned out to be a great asset to help improve the water quality in the groundwater basins and produce local water supplies. Now the issue to me is who pays for how much? And my perspective is we look at how we have been doing the business so far and what type of mechanism or I guess structure can we come up to collect revenues from the people in the future who are connecting now. And maybe as part of this process, we should also develop a rate structure for the discharges. I was thinking, after we had the last discussion, what's the class of customer? Or the purveyors, or the ag customers, or the businesses, or the businesses who are in the New York Stock Exchange, or different classes of businesses. Depending on that, we can come up with a justification, what's a fair amount for them to pay and share for the cost of these facilities. As we know, we have capital improvement charges. Maybe for this area, we could look into some type of capital improvement charges, zone capital improvement charges. So to me, everybody has to pay. How can we come up with a fair amount of contribution from the people, or even the people who are going to be joining at a later date or connecting at a future date? That's the challenge I see.
Director Bacala jumped into my next two questions.
Well, before we get moving on to the next one, I want to give the other board members a chance. Anything from Director Quady, Director McMillan? I'll just jump in with what Director Roberts said and what Director Bacala said. Since the last time we discussed this, my thought process behind this was, it's a lot of money. This is a for-profit company. It's not a retail agency. It's not a purveyor. They might make the investment now. They figure out that this investment isn't working for them and they want to disconnect. They don't want to use it anymore, in 4 or 5 years. Or they want to move plants, right? It's not a water agency that's going to be here. So we need to figure out, going back to Director Roberts, thought is, what's the correct business path? How would a business treat this, right? Not a public agency. We need to look at this like a business. How would they treat this? What sort of investment, what sort of rates would we be looking at? And how far are we looking at to recoup these costs? Because with the private agency, we can't say, well, we'll just charge them what we charge everybody else, because they are a private agency and they might not be there, 10, 15 years from now, and we'll never recoup our costs. So I think we need to tread carefully. I think we need to treat this as a adequate business decision with the right type of knowledge and the right type of people with skills and background to help guide us through this, if this is something that we want to do.
To frame that with some rough numbers, and I'll use the disclaimer here that this is information that's been collected through scraping and has not been verified in any way. But Amgen's drugs that rely on water discharge are 40% of their drug profile. Of those, represents around $13.5 billion worth of revenue. That is globally, and I have no idea what their facilities are here, but it's one of those things where those are very, very large numbers. And I think it sets the stage for the severity of the question, or the gravity of the question. And so that's why I really want to be cautious about the precedents that we set. So that's just kind of some of the things that I was very surprised to learn, because I'm like, okay, well, what are they going to use it for? Is it that type of facility? Is it, where does it, and we also have to consider that the SMP pipeline is something that we didn't realize would be so not influential, but such an important part of our lifestyle here. And understanding that the ability to expand the pipeline or add another pipeline is next to near impossible financially, we have to treat this like a finite resource, the capacity of our pipeline. And so, and if our intent is to serve the community in the best way possible, then using that pipeline capacity for profit, or companies using it for profit, is something that we're taking away from, let's say, community projects that have to do with desalting or whatnot. So it's something that we have to evaluate to be worth it to the district, to the ratepayers, to the community. Let's say a business advisor, or I think I looked at a business strategy advisor, recommends that this is a huge benefit to the company and there's this value attached to it. And that's something that we can use as a profit generation to offset the rates of the purveyors and ultimately the the people in our community. We have a responsibility to explore that, not just as a what's fair to anyone and all businesses equally in our area, but who do we represent and what benefit can we offer them? So that's kind of where that was going. But as you can see, this is a very loaded question.
Understood.
So, thanks.
So there's this, I think we've already kind of gotten to this question. It's really been at the root of comments from several of the board members. Of course, in order to discuss whether it needs to be modified, we need to understand how it works now. So that would need to be something that we would dive into. And then, oh, so this is sorry, I want to distinguish. This question is about connecting and this question is about discharging. And then, so here we also, the rate structure, data regarding other sources of revenue like property taxes and water rates. And then Director Quady raised previously how Las Virgenes assesses capacity fees. I did get that report from Las Virgenes, so I haven't dug into it yet, but that was another piece of data. I think the comments that Director Robert made about additional expertise are very good ones. For today's discussion, I'd just like to agree that these are the right questions and what data might be needed. And then I would like some time to regroup and consider the input that was received and determine next steps, knowing that there will be discussion at future board meetings. Probably not the next one, but the one after.
Do we know that this will be all the data that we need?
Well, that's what I'm asking the board is what other data you think you need me to bring you. And this can be iterative. I just wanted to go in. I wanted to, based on some recent discussions we'd had at various board meetings, start with what data do you want so I can bring you the data. Doesn't mean you can't identify other data needs, but I felt like we could have the most productive discussion if we at least got a head start on.
I think it's a good place to start. Establishing where you're at is obviously the foundation of where you want to go. Where we want to go, I think, is where all the uncertainty lies, or the method of that journey. I definitely think the existing rate structure for discharge to the S&P and the rate or cost for connection is one of those things that, yeah, that falls into those two things. I think it's going to evolve, but yes, I agree with where you're starting personally.
I think there's a data point out there that, or something that needs to be either clarified or decided as to when we reach a certain point of fulfilling some of the data that we have available to us versus when we need to some help. So somehow there might need to be a recommendation. Staff to say, okay, this requires some external boost, taking its time because it's just way too much for staff.
Well, and this discussion has given me some good ideas about where I might want to take that.
Would it be worth getting any of our purveyors' input?
I mean, we certainly can. I think to the extent that any changes are going to affect them, we absolutely should get their input. It does sound like the board's primary focus is making sure that our purveyors who are dischargers are well served. And then to what extent do we distinguish them from other dischargers? Because there are other private dischargers. No one's discharging now, but there was an item on the consent calendar that's a private entity that would be discharging to the S&P. Now, the pipeline's right there, so it doesn't involve an extension of them. And the same is true of the ag berry desalter. They both are going to come right to the pipeline.
Pipeline adjacent.
So obviously is a somewhat different investment on our part.
And that's my concern, more so than the things you mentioned, is that we're making, fiscally responsible decisions that are going to benefit the district, not hurt the district. That, going down the road, we are recouping these costs and profiting on these expenses for the benefit of our ratepayers, right? Not the opposite. And that's what I want to make sure of, that we're taking care of our ratepayers and that this isn't going to end up costing them money.
Well, the good news, oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, you have to try to visualize the future, is water filtration gonna be something that is in high demand in this area? It seems like it's already growing, so, my concern at the last meeting, the sentiment that I left with was a sort of anxiety of just giving it away all early and then having people who have, almost historical rights to capacity that then have to be figured out in the future and negotiated and adjudicated. And, again, so I think there's a very important precedence to set.
Well, I think the good news is that we have access to experts. We already have a rate consultant on board doing a cost of service study who may be able to lend some expertise here. We also do have access to rate legal counsel. We don't use them regularly, but a letter of engagement exists, so we could get them involved to the extent that we need to. So this has been a helpful discussion for me to kind of take it to the next step. So more to come, probably at the second board meeting in February.
I just might want to interject from my understanding from when I started versus we are today, that initially we did get the outfall and started coming back in this way with the eye for salinity facilities inland. It was a water quality issue at first, but it was also a regional view, say that this region may have this in the future, that there's a need to desalt and discharge. And so Calleguas, is my imperfect view of it, is that Calleguas is going to facilitate something to help bring the region into both environmental compliance and a service where, in my view, it's a cost recovery project. I don't see it as a for-profit thing. I see it as more of a cost recovery project. So I would expect that rates be oriented that way. But that would be the consultant's role.
I think those are probably falls in line with some of the values that we want to establish with the presence of the S&P line. It's what values do we want in primary? I think it's intrinsically we're fairly well aligned on some of the basic ones, which are bring value and opportunity and certain things to the local community. But then once you start getting into maybe the history of it, is what was it presented as? Was it presented as something for the future of the community? And does that trickle down into the rules and regulations that we put in place for when for-profit businesses start getting involved, whether it be there's a clause that says if a community program comes in down the line, you have to give way. Those kind of things, that way we maintain our values that we discuss and establish. I know I harped kind of on the numbers and cost benefit analysis and all that, but I think as Director Quady mentioned, we'll have to also go down, what values do we hold true when we have these discussions?
Thank you. Anything else from the board? Any last? Nichols? Anything else from Steve?
I have enough to work with. Thank you.
Okay, that covered reports. Up next, do we have a general counsel report?
Just a brief update. There were changes to the Brown Act that became January 1st, 2026. For example, there were some changes to just cause or emergency circumstances, certain situations under which you can teleconference And one of their requirements is also that all sitting members of local agency receive a copy of the Brown Act. So I've prepared a memo that I'm putting the finishing touches on about the changes. Accompanying that memo to your emails will be an exciting copy of the full Brown Act to make sure that we're in compliance. That should be coming within the next week or so.
Thank you.
It'll put you to bed, that's for sure.
I think I have a better idea. We, next, general counsel report, we sit here and we read through it together.
Oh, it's, you want to have a 4-hour meeting, 5-hour meeting on it?
All right. Okay, thank you, council. Up next, we have board director reports. Have we had, we did have some committees. And the one I want to bring up was the staff housing. We did go look at some modular homes. Very impressive here in Simi Valley, Nicola, and we have 2 more coming up.
We're still trying to get them scheduled.
2 more coming up that we're still trying to get scheduled. But we're working through that. But any other committees?
There haven't been any.
Okay. And with that, we're gonna move on to director's list of admin code reimbursable meetings, just the new way. Let's just go the new old way. Just down the line, all your meetings. Director Quady, would like to lead the way, please.
Okay, on September 9th, I met with the president at 507 Coffee,
September?
I hope he means January.
9:15. MWA water-wise. We got the most accurate weather report you could ever understand. And then 9:20, a meeting with the GM. And let's see, 9:19, also had an aqua meeting. Which one that was now, but that was a Zoom. And on this morning, Spoda, we're at Venice MWD Theater.
Director Bacala?
Yes, there were no GMA or VC or EA meetings since we met last time. Other meetings I attended are on January 15th, AWA water issues. We talked about good analysis of how our weather forecaster missed some of the forecasts he had. It was a very interesting discussion. I enjoyed that. And it's not easy to forecast, but he did a good job in talking about it. On January 20th, I attended GMA TAC meeting. There was a lot of good discussion about voice. I know you don't like the acronyms, but
Basin optimization yield study.
yes. On January 21st, along with other board members, I attended Super Water Feeder groundbreaking. That's today, this morning. Today's board meeting.
Thank you, Director Bacala. Director Robert?
Sure. Since the last board meeting, there was an AWA board meeting on the 8th that I was not able to attend. I also went to for the staff housing committee of Picola Tiny Homes. It's really nice to be able to visit a few different options locally and see them in person, just because a lot of times you make decisions based off what you are presented with. But, when you can walk between the studs and all that and really see their craftsmanship, it gives you a great feel for, who we're investing in with our something that is very important to the district.
The quality of the homes for our staff.
Yeah. On the 12th, the Metropolitan One Water, on the 13th, Metropolitan Board of Directors meeting, 15th AWA Waterwise, which I was tickled to learn that the people who predict our weather also have bets internally to see who can get closest to the pin. I'll say that I have a weather prediction method that has been 100% accurate every time. I've got a rock outside, and when it's wet, it's raining. It's dry, it's not. On the 20th, Port Hueneme City Council meeting and tonight's board meeting.
Thank you, Director Robert. Director McMillan?
Yes, on January, these are the Calleguas meetings I attended. January the 14th, Camarillo City Council. On the 15th, the Awa Waterwise Program. On the 20th, the Awa Water Issues Committee. The 21st, and I omitted this one, but the Sepulveda Feed Pump Station groundbreaking this morning. I will send you a corrected report. Board meeting at tonight's meeting. Let's see, and look at this out of order. MWD, well, anyway. January the 8th, the North Caucus, January the 9th, DCDCA board briefing, January the 18th, committee and committee board meetings, and the one item of interest that was passed as we approved the addendum number 6 to the Certified Program Environmental Impact Report for the pre-stressed concrete cylinder pipe rehabilitation program. And we ordered $61 million to Shea Construction to rehabilitate the Sepulveda feeder, which we saw today, and authorized an agreement with HDR Engineering for $1.3 million for technical support. And then on January 15th, I had a DCDCA meeting with Graham, who is the CEO of the Delta Conveyance Construction Authority. And then January the 20th, Ag and Tribal Partnerships, and, oh, I do have it there, the Vivis Pressure Control Station dedication. Okay.
Fun. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right. And for myself, since the last board meeting on the 8th, we had the staff housing where we saw the Picola homes. I look forward to seeing the other ones. That quality was incredible. The next day on the 9th, I had a meeting with Director Quady. On the 15th, I attended AWA Waterwise. On the 19th, I attended Aqua board meeting. On the 20th, we had water issues where I was trying to log on, but I couldn't log on. But I had a meeting following that with Aqua board president Ernie Avila after that meeting. To today's board meeting and the groundbreaking as well. And that is it for today's board meeting. Any complaints on the new old way, or does anybody want to go back to the other way where we go down all the different committees?
It makes it faster, easier.
Okay, great. Glad to hear. Do we have a discussion regarding upcoming meetings to be attended by the board?
If I could just mention the next board meeting on February 4th, the same night, the Pleasant Valley Recreation and Park District will be considering granting an easement for the Ventura Calleguas interconnection. That meeting is at 6 o'clock in Camarillo. I've asked Director McMillan to join me because that is within her district. So I'm going to try to keep that meeting on the shorter side, be done by 5:30 so that we can head out to that meeting. So.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. Up next, the request for future agenda items. I do have one. And that is, I would like to board to look at and stand a executive committee to go over things such as policy, things like the Nyland Acres that came before us today. The issue we're going with Amgen, admin code changes, and things like staffing. I think if the board, the board president, executive committee board president, plus one other board member selected by the board, were to meet, regularly, maybe every other month or so, to go over things like this that end up on the agenda that I think would benefit everybody if we had to look at beforehand. That's kind of where I want to go with that. So,
Just a question about the committees. Do we have to agendize? Do we just form how does it work? Do you have to?
It would have to be a board action.
It has to be?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's what we've done in the past when we've added committees or modified them. So I could agendize that. I can try to get it on for the 4th. Worst case, the 18th.
Hopefully it'd be a pretty quick one.
Just from my understanding, you're saying it would have to be board action to establish the committee, but I believe Director Pacala is asking, does it have to be scheduled and agendized and?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I think yes to both, actually.
I see.
Yeah. Any other?
Well, I support what you're saying. I support, so that way we have advanced understanding of what you're looking at when it comes to the board meetings.
My only concern is the same concern that we had at the last board meeting when talking about is that affect kind of a wide opinion of the members. My hesitation is there's two people in the room and three people have the option to sit there and listen, but how do we involve the entire board in a way that can be discussed? I think is my concern. Right, because it's a the committee would be two people. Yeah.
It's a great question for when it comes back up to the, yeah.
So I guess when it comes back up, I'll probably have the same question. If there's a solution for that.
Sign language.
Sign language.
That may be a violation.
Not hear that response, no.
So
I understand.
it's my misunderstanding that you can call boards together in workshops. If there's specific items in the agenda that you want to take out and actually focus on, a workshop is a good idea.
Yeah, and I'm not familiar with the workshop. I assumed it would have to be some sort of special board meeting that is set up and, you know, we don't have to burden all the staff with us, but I think it would be much more productive if we are able to have these discussions and, you know, if Director Quiddy has a great idea, he can say so and the discussion can benefit from that. So that's where I hesitate with committees being.
That's the same thing with every committee.
Yeah, I know, but
Gonna be,
you know, with the staff housing committee or other things, it's, you know, the direction of the board is generally the same and we can view and report. But when it's something that's more of a workshop to decide on future direction or direction alignment, it seems like something that we should kind of.
The committees just bring recommendations to the board and the board decides. We're not making any decisions amongst two board members. And that's where your committees make a move the headway.
But the granularity of those meetings are important, maybe.
Yeah, that's also an option.
Well, under the structure we have now, it's my experience has been, even though I'm not a member of certain, I go there and listen. So it helps me to come up with ideas or questions at the board meeting. At least I know what's being talked about.
Yeah.
And if something comes up, well, I have to start, okay, what is this about? And so I like the structure we have now. I understand that it will be better to everybody to have their comments. Then it's going to be maybe several meetings sometimes if it's especially SMP, which is a complicated issue. That it deserves to be several meetings. That's what we decided for that particular issue. We're going to hear at the board meetings instead of having a committee for that. That makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, to clarify, I wasn't saying all committee meetings should be now a group committee meeting, but some that discuss the direction and planning of large scale items may be something that we want to discuss as a group, but we can discuss that at the, it's agendized.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Does anybody else have anything else for that? Any, how about this? Board comments, item 10. Okay.
Mr. President, I just have a comment that I'll be out of the country. I will not be attending next two board meetings in the month of February.
Okay. Let me see.
And good job, Jackie, too.
Oh, thank you. Hope it was televised.
All right, any other
It was
board?
being streamed live, I learned after the fact.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Any other board comments? All right, up next, information items. Information items, we have a need for closed